Now let's talk about measures of central tendency. So you've probably heard of measures of central tendency, but never really heard it called that. So measures of central tendency is a single number that summarizes an entire set of data. Your mean, median, and mode are the most common measures of central tendency. The mean is the sum of the data values divided by the number of data values. You've probably heard it called the average. Typically, it's used with test grades. So, for example, if these were your test grades for a semester and you wanted to find the mean of them, what we would do is take 100, we would take 77, 80, 65, 87, and you don't have to put them in order. 85, another 85, 82, 100, 97, 95, and 75. We would add them all together. Now, if you do add them all together, you get 1,028. That would be my sum of the data values. Then I want to divide by how many data values I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 test scores. Dividing that by 12 is going to give you your overall average or your mean. In this case, I'll round to the nearest tenths place. So it's approximately 85.7 would be your overall average on those test scores. Now your median is another measure of central tendency. Median is your middle value. Make sure that your numbers are arranged from smallest to largest. So that's important to start off with. If two numbers appear in the middle, you want to add them and divide by 2. So, for example, with this one, we want to put them in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to do it up here. You've got 65 is going to be my lowest value. I don't have any other numbers in the 60s, so then I would move on to the 70s, and I would say 75, and then 77. Notice how I'm marking them off as I go because I don't want to lose track of any of my numbers. Now in the 80s, I've got 80. The next number would then be 82. And then 85, so 82, 85. I have another 85, so case in point while I always mark off numbers here. I've got 87 next. Those are all of my values in the 80s. For the 90s, I have 95, and then I have 97. And then I have two 100s. To find the median, especially if it's a large group of numbers, I start on either end and say, okay, I'm going to mark through the last two, and then I just work my way in because I'm trying to find that number in the middle. So keep going, mark off here, mark off there. And notice I have two numbers that are in the middle. So I have 85 and 85. Anytime you have two numbers in the middle, you always add those two numbers, and then you divide that answer by 2. Now in this case, it's just going to bring you right back to 85. But if these numbers had been different, the two numbers in the middle, then you would have gotten a different number here. So 85 would be my median. Now your mode is the number that occurs the most often. Now if you don't have any repeating numbers, then you simply write no mode. Now if there's more than one value that repeats the same number or frequency, then each of these is considered to be the mode. So looking at your test scores, it's easier to look at it like on the last side when we had them written least to greatest. I would always suggest writing it least to greatest to begin with. But the number that repeated was the number 85, and that was the only number that repeated in our list. So our mode would be 85. Now let's just say, for example, hypothetically, that there had been like another 65 here. If the numbers both repeat twice, then we would have written both the modes. We would have said 85 and 65 would have been our mode. Let's say hypothetically though there had been another 65. Now if this one repeats 3 times and this one only repeats twice, then 65 would be our mode because that's the number that repeats the most often. Now there's two other values that you need to know about how to calculate, and that's going to be your range and your mid-range. So your range is always your highest number minus your lowest number. So in this data set, our highest number is 6 and our lowest number is 3. So 6 minus 3 gives us a range of 3. Now your mid-range, what you do is you take your maximum value and your minimum value and you find the average of those two. So if I was doing this problem over here, I would say my highest is 6, my lowest is 3. The average of 6 and 3 would be 6 plus 3 divided by 2. So 9 divided by 2 is going to give me 4.5. So let's look at an example of putting it all together. It says find the mean, the median, the mode, the range, and the mid-range of the test scores below. The very first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put them in order from least to greatest, because that typically just makes things easier. So scrolling down and looking at my list here, my lowest value is going to be 54. I don't have any numbers in my 60s. I do have a number in my 70s, so that's going to be 78. I'm scrolling, I'm looking at my 80s. I've got an 82. I've got two 82s. So I'm going to cross those out. I'm looking, I've got an 89, an 87, and 88. So I'm going to put those in order. I've got 87, 88, and 89. So let's cross those off our list. 87, 88, and 89. I've got left 90 and 99. 90 and 99. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll count and say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers in my original. That way I just make sure I haven't missed anything. So for me, remember what we're going to do is we're going to add those numbers up. So I'm going to add 54, 78, 82s, so 2 of those. I'm going to add 87, 88, 89, 90, and 99, and that's going to give us 749. I'm going to divide by how many values I have. So remember a while ago I said that I had 9 values. So 749 divided by 9 is going to give me an average of, we're going to round it to the 10th place, 83.2. Now my median, I'm going to do exactly what I did a while ago. I'm going to start crossing these out. So cross these out, cross these out. Just kind of work my way in here. Notice I only have one median. I don't have to add them or divide by 2 because I only have one number in the middle, so that's going to be 87. My mode, I'm looking for any number that repeats, and so 54, those don't repeat. The number 82 repeats twice. 87, 88 doesn't repeat. None of those do, so 82 is going to be my mode. My range is going to be the highest minus the lowest. So my highest is easy to tell when you have them written in order, so that's why I would suggest always doing that. So 99 minus 54 is going to give us 45. My mid-range, what I'm going to do is add my highest and my lowest together, so 99 plus 54, and then I'm going to divide that answer by 2. So 99 plus 54 is going to give us 153. Divided by 2 is going to give us 76.5. All right, so one other graph that we need to talk about now that we've talked about range and mid-range is going to be a box and whisker plot. So what a box and whisker plot shows is the number inside the box is always going to be your median. The left-hand side and the right-hand side of the box are your lower quartile and upper quartile. All this stands for is this is your median of the lower half of your numbers. This is the median of the upper half of your numbers. So this is the upper half. Your whiskers are formed by your maximum value and your minimum value. Now, each section of your box and whisker graph represents 25% of your numbers. So we can say, okay, the whisker is 25% of my numbers, this part of my box is 25%, the left-hand part of my box is 25%, and this represents 25% of my box. So each portion of the box and whisker plot represents the same amount of numbers. So for example, this one says, what is the median weight of the pumpkins? All you need to do is find that line that's in the middle. This represents, this graph is going up by 5, so 25, and then one more is going to give me 30, so 30 pounds. What is the range? So I'm going to find my highest value, which is going to be 95. And I'm going to find my lowest value, which looks like it's going to be 10. So 95 minus 10 is going to give me a range of 85. Now remember my mid-range, I'm going to take that highest value and my lowest value, I'm going to add them together, which is going to give me 105. And then I'm going to divide that answer by 2. So dividing that by 2 is going to give me 52.5. This one's asking you to draw a box and whisker plot from the following. So the very first thing I want to do is put them in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to say 70, 75, 79. Then I've got an 88, I've got a 90, I've got a 92, and then a 95. I'm going to find the median first. So I'm going to go mark through these, try to find that guy that's in the middle. My median is going to be 88. So I know the inside of my box here is going to be 88. My lower quartile is going to be the median of my lower half of my numbers here. So the median of the lower half is going to be 75. So we'll say here's 75 here. My upper quartile is going to be the median of my upper half, which is going to be 92. I know I don't have a number line here, but we're just going to pretend. So here's my box. Woo, that's an ugly box, but we get the point. 95 is going to be my whisker that's out here. My lower whisker is going to be my lowest value, which is going to be 70. I do want to point out that if you do have two numbers in the middle with a box and whisker plot, so let's just say we did have to add two numbers and divide them by 2. If that's the case and you have two numbers, that new median is what splits it into your lower quartile and your upper quartile. So just keep that in mind if you do have two numbers in the middle.